maybe no. I am not sinking to your level. We have to keep this family friendly. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Kaiju Weekly, the weekly podcast that introduces you to the wide world of giant monster movies. I am your host, Travis, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Micheal Hamlet Hamilton.
To be a kaiju or not to be a kaiju? That is the question.
Always be a kaiju.
No matter what life throws at you, always be a kaiju.
Always be kaijuing. ABK.
Always be kaijuing. That needs to be a t-shirt. It needs to be a t-shirt. Oh, speaking of t-shirts, I noticed that we had some Kaiju Ramen shirts and some Kaiju Ramen stuff up on our TeePublic today, so I bought a sweatshirt.
Ooh, nice. Nice.
I did. I bought a sweatshirt. I'll let you know when it comes in.
Yeah. I added the Kaiju Ramen magazine logo to some stuff and put it onto our TeePublic just so that we'd have, some extra merch for Kaiju Ramen, some representation for Kaiju Ramen on there. And I especially really like the masks because if we ever do start going to cons again, I plan on having a Kaiju Ramen mask that I can wear and be walking around with. So that
Yeah.
was really cool.
That was I don't know. I was on TeePublic because I was thinking about because I posted a YouTube video the other day, my first ever like unboxing YouTube video the other day, just to help generate a little bit more content for our YouTube channel. And I was on TeePublic looking for kaiju shirts and kaiju merch, and our Kaiju Ramen logo popped up. I'm like, oh, what is this? Like, oh, Travis must have uploaded the Kaiju Ramen logo. Ooh, there's a hoodie. So I bought the hoodie. I like hoodies.
Yeah.
They're comfortable.
Yeah. I know I would love to have a hoodie, but I don't
So
think they don't really sell hoodies my size.
mm.
Because for listeners of the podcast, I'm 2 kaiju fans by volume.
I can attest. I have seen you in person. You are a giant of a man. I will say that.
I had a conversation earlier today about someone or with someone, and they were talking to me. We were talking about that because I was like, they were like, I don't know, I don't like talking to people who are taller than me, and it's like, well, you must not talk to a lot of people.
Oh no. Oh no.
But yeah.
I take it this person was of bite size.
Uh, I mean, by my standards, yes. They're more average height. I'm the one that's the above average.
Right, of course. Like, I'm only like 6 foot. I'm 6 foot. Yeah, 6 foot even. So that's my height. Technically, if you want to be really technical, I'm 5'11 and 3/4, but who's counting? So I just tell people I'm 6 foot.
I am 6'2" if I stand up straight.
Right. If you're not slouching.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Which I do a lot.
So anyway, Travis, this is not going to be a typical episode. So apparently, while we were on hiatus, for anyone who's been not aware, we've been on hiatus since I think mid-November. So a lot of stuff has happened.
Yes, a lot of things happened in our off time, and yeah, we decided to take a break until this week, and we were going to officially kick off Kaiju Weekly Season 3, but
Yeah.
we were going to do it with a movie review, but then there was so much news that happened while we were gone that we wanted to talk about that
Yeah.
we decided to just have this kind of news roundup episode. So that's what we're going to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, we are. But before we can cue the beady beady, we actually have to mention one of our awesome sponsors for this show and for Kaiju Rama magazine. Travis, who are we talking about?
Yeah, this week's episode is brought to you by Toku Toy Town. We've talked about them before. They're really great online shop committed to bringing serious collectors and casual fans alike the very best, rarest, and coolest in the world of Safubi, tokusatsu toys, and kaiju collectibles. Jay and his team strive to be the first place you look when you're trying to hunt down that hard to find exclusive X plus holy grail, and most importantly, they understand your journey because they are collectors too. So they are a fantastic group. We love working with them. We love having them as our sponsors. And they've been incredibly generous. We've talked about them before. They've been incredibly generous to provide our listeners with the discount code Kaiju Weekly to use at checkout. So if you go and you order something from Toku Toy Town, use Kaiju Weekly, all one word, uh, at the checkout, and you will get 10% off your order. No minimums to buy, unlimited uses, fast shipping, and great customer service. Again, that's code Kaiju Weekly, all one word, for 10% off your next purchase at tokutoytown.com.
Yeah. And just as a more personal note, I have gotten to know Jay at Toku Toy Town pretty well over the last few months since he's been a sponsor of the magazine and been a really beloved sponsor for this podcast. And Jay is an awesome fellow. Like I have spent so much money with Jay and Toku Toy Town in the last few months. It's embarrassing, but I regret nothing. Jay, if you're listening, I know you listen to this show. I regret nothing, sir, and I appreciate everything that you do for the collectors community at YHS and everything that you guys have going on there on YHS at Monster Island. We just really appreciate y'all, and we appreciate you sponsoring Kaiju Ramen and sticking with us as a partner for this podcast and a partner for the magazine as well. So thank you guys. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. And now it's time.
For the first time in 2021,
No.
wait, hang on, let me back up. Let me back up.
I'm leaving it
For
in.
for for the first time in my God, 2021 was a really man. 2021 was a hell of a year. Um, for the first time in 2022, season 3 of Kaiju Weekly podcast. Let's cue the beady beady.
And really, this whole episode is just one long beady beady.
It
Because
is going
yeah,
to be one long beady beady. Yeah, for sure. For
um,
sure. Like
it's not
I'm
about
looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. There's been so much stuff that's come out in the last year, um, that I am so looking forward to all the stuff that we're getting ready to talk about. Hopefully the our listeners, our faithful Kaiju Weekly listeners, won't get bored with us just talking through the news and gushing about all the stuff that's gonna be coming this year. Maybe, hopefully, if things don't get screwed up again. So
the first bit of news that we're going to talk about is personal to us because we have launched the Kickstarter for Kaiju Ramen Volume 1. Now,
yay!
I don't know if we actually mentioned it on the podcast yet or not, but people have been asking us for a while. When are we going to reprint issues of Kaiju Ramen? When are we going to reprint the physical copies? And we there was a couple of reasons why we didn't want to reprint the physical copies of the magazines as individual issues. One, we want to keep them kind of special, the ones that we sold initially, and two, printing costs are high, and trying to reprint individual issues costs a lot. But we have decided, and we did decide, to do a very special volume that collects all of the articles that we have put out from the past year from Kaiju Ramen into one big 300-page book that not only includes all the articles that we printed, all the artwork that we printed, but also some bonus content that you can only get from this publication and not anywhere else in the magazines, the any other
Mhm.
magazines. And
Yeah.
yeah, we launched the Kickstarter on January 1st on New Year's Day, and we're already closing in on the halfway mark.
Yeah, we're 41% funded, which I think, I don't have it in front of me. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's like it's 24, what is it? 24 something, $2,400
Yeah,
at least
yeah, somewhere we're
$2,400
hovering
at
right
this point.
around 2,500.
Mhm. So, I mean, that's amazing, first of all, that we got that much money in 24 in little over 24 hours. That just it blows my mind because I feel like it took us forever, the last Kickstarter we did, to reach even this amount of money. Um, and, I'm just incredibly grateful. We were on Kim's show, Kaiju Chill with Kaiju Kim, the other night, talking about it, and I'm just incredibly, incredibly grateful for everyone who has supported us and just kind of shared and loved on the magazine for this entire year. And, hopefully we're going to be putting out something really special for you guys with this collected issue.
Yeah, yeah, and really, we're so excited because we have put together this just fantastic team of creators to produce some bonus content. You know, we're doing a ramen recipe. People always joke about when are we going to include some actual ramen stuff in our Kaiju Ramen magazine. Well, we're finally going to do it. We're going to include a ramen recipe. We've also got the forward for this book is written by Kyle Yount from Kaiju Cast, like
The
a legend.
Podfather himself.
Yeah, the a legend in the kaiju podcasting sphere, and it's just we're so excited to have that. We also have redesigns for issue 1 to kind of
Yep.
uh make them fit into in line with some of the other designs that we've put in there, because some of the
Yep.
articles, it was our first issue, so we were still kind of figuring out our format. Now that we have our format figured out, we're going to go back and redesign issue 1 to make it fit into
Yep.
that. So even
I'm
even with
personally
this,
stewarding that one myself.
yeah. And we also have a very special cover for this book that is being designed by Matt Frank, and it looks
So
so good.
gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. It's so gorgeous. If you want to know what it looks like, just go to our Twitter, kaiju_ramen on Twitter, and take a look. I'm sure we're going to be posting more pictures of it as Matt gets further along with the artwork. But my God, it's so beautiful. I and we are so grateful to Matt agreeing to do this cover for us. It really does mean a lot because if anyone who's lived under a rock the last year and a half, probably, Matt has done some stellar artwork for Arrow and with the Gamma release and the Daimajin set, as well as, he's best known for the Rulers of Earth comics with IDW. And we are just over the moon to have Matt Frank doing the cover art for this one of a kind collected issue. But I'll tell you, the one thing that I'm probably the most excited for is we're gonna have our very own kaiju ramen cocktail. So yeah.
Yeah.
So so may, so maybe the next time maybe next time we were maybe next episode, maybe not the next episode, but a little bit further on down the road, I might be sipping on a our very own custom cocktail created by our friend Sean McGinnis. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
gonna be fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, there is so much stuff. Plus, we have all of our rewards that we're offering to people who pledge, all kinds of little fun goodies, and posters and things like that that you can get. So, if you are interested at all in kaiju media, in celebrating the kaiju genre and the fans of that genre, go check out Kaiju Ramen, Volume 1 on Kickstarter. You can also go to Kaiju Ramen Media .com. That's our website now. We've changed our website name, which I'll talk about in just a minute, from kaiju ramen magazine.com to kaiju ramen media. But either one of those domains. If you type it in, you'll get to it, and the Kickstarter will be on the website, so you can just click through. It'll take you to Kickstarter, and you can support it. So yeah, it's just give it all the love that you can because we want to continue doing this. We have had so much fun doing Kaiju Ramen Magazine for the past year, and we want to continue on in the future.
Yeah, and I wanna stress I think it's very important. I think it's very, very important, Travis, to stress that this collected issue is only going to be available for Kickstarters. Like, this is a
Yes.
Kickstarter edition volume, because the reason why we wanted to do it this way is because we wanted to make it as special as we can, and we wanted to show um, we wanted to kind of show some love to our diehard supporters, the people that really believe in this project and the people that really love us, by giving them a one of a kind item, um, for them to read and enjoy. And it's I'm so excited. And Travis, do you want to just really briefly go over how Kickstarter works? Because I know Kickstarter can be a little bit intimidating for folks.
Yeah, so with Kickstarter, what you're doing is you're pledging, so you're promising to give a certain amount of money towards this campaign. The campaign, if it reaches its goal in the number of pledges, then at the end of the amount of time that that we have for the campaign, they will take the money out. So if you're someone who's worried about like I want to support it but I don't have the money right now, the Kickstarter doesn't take the money out of your account or charge you any money until the campaign's finished, which our campaign is going to end February 1st. So you won't have to worry about having any money until then, but you can go ahead and pledge so that way we
Mm,
know that you're there and you're supporting us and we can reach that goal because the way Kickstarter works is it's all or nothing. If we don't reach that goal of the number of pledges, then we don't get the money at all. So we do not
yeah,
make this book. So we need that support or else we're not
yeah,
going to be able to do this.
yeah. Yeah, and it's so important.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, Travis, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of really cool things on the horizon for not just the magazine, but there's a lot of really awesome things on the horizon for this podcast and other projects as well that we are sort of bringing under the banner of Kaiju Ramen, because that sort of just made a lot of sense to us.
Yeah, so Kaiju Ramen magazine has been so successful and has had so much love and attention put on it that we decided to kind of consolidate all of our creative endeavors together under that banner. And so, and especially because we're trying to celebrate Kaiju Ramen media, or not Kaiju Ramen media, but Kaiju media, and we're not able to do that as fully in just a quarterly magazine. We want to do more. We want to celebrate kaiju even more. And so we're expanding our website. Our website, like I said, now is no longer kaijuramenmagazine.com. It's Kaiju Ramen Media. We are starting to post shorter articles and news items onto our website. We're going to have that on there so that stuff that couldn't fit into the magazine or that we may not cover on the podcast will have it on the website. So we want the website to be a place that people can go to access more information on kaiju related stuff and see fun content and just kind of see more, again, expanding just the celebration of
Mm,
kaiju content. And yeah, we're as part of that, we also created the Kaiju Ramen podcast network, which is essentially just all three of our podcasts that me and you and also Nathan have been working on already. We're just bringing them all together into one network under the Kaiju Ramen banner. So if you are interested in kaiju monster or giant monster movie reviews without all the pomp and without taking ourselves too seriously, we have Kaiju Weekly. If you're interested in Japanese superheroes and their adventures and breaking down a show episode by episode, especially like right now we're going through Kamen Rider. We have Henshin Men. That's our other podcast. And then if you are a diehard fan of Power Rangers and you want an overall view of each season of Power Rangers and the themes and elements that are in it, we also have the Power Trip, which is part of the Kaiju Ramen Media podcasting network.
Yeah. Which sidebar, that particular podcast, which is hosted by me and our co-host in common, Nathan Marchand, will be launching as of this recording. It'll be launching tomorrow, Tuesday, January the 4th. Um, so please go if you as soon as you listen to this episode, go check out the Power Trip. It's a lot of fun. We've batch recorded a few episodes ahead of time, and they're a lot of fun to listen to.
Yeah. So just a lot of fun and exciting things that we're doing to kind of just celebrate kaiju in a bigger way. And we're just I call this next step in our whole creative outlet Kaiju Ramen Phase 2, because that's kind of what it feels
Mhm.
like. We're entering a new phase of the magazine, of the podcast, of the website and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting stuff, and I'm so like I'm just so excited for the things that we're going to be doing just in this year alone. I can't wait to share with our listeners what we're going to be up to this year. So anyway, that's kind of enough of tooting our own horn. I think we probably do that enough already. So Travis, do you want to get into some more news surrounding the genre of giant monsters and some powerful heroes?
One more thing before we move on from tooting our own horn, we've also started uploading onto our YouTube channel again. So if you are someone who prefers listening to podcasts on YouTube instead of on like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, they are going to be available on YouTube now from moving forward. We also are posting our bonus content on there. So we've got some interviews with people that we're posting on there. And also Michael has started an unboxing series that he's going to do from time to time, and we might put some other bonus content on there from time to time. So now's a good time to go and check out the Kaiju Weekly YouTube channel as well, because we're going to be posting stuff there as well. But yes, moving on to some actual news items, we have an announcement that Boom Studios and IDW are teaming up for a crossover event in the comic books that is Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It's going to be start being released in March, and I just like I thought this was fake. I thought this was fake whenever I first saw it shared online. I was like, "Yeah, this is it. There's no way this is real." But it's real.
Right. No, it's incredibly real. It's incredibly real, and I said this on Kim's show the other night. If you would have told me I was waking up the other morning, I think it was like a week or two ago now. If you told me I was going to wake up and see that they were going to do a crossover event with Godzilla and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I would have said, quit hitting the sauce and go back to bed because you're drunk. Um, yeah, so this is it's not uncommon for Boom Studios, and I think it's Boom Studios and IDW. This is not uncommon for them to do a crossover event with each other, correct? You're the comic book nerd, I'm not.
Right, yeah. So they have done crossovers in the past. We've had Mighty Morphin Power Rangers crossover with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We've had them crossover with the Justice League, which is DC, not IDW. But we've also had them crossover with Masters of the Universe. So this is kind of like a culmination of all of those crossover comics that they've been doing up to this point,
Mhm.
and just seeing that they've put Godzilla as the next step in the crossover stuff.
Ugh.
It's amazing. Now, what's interesting is Matt Frank, we've talked a lot about him already because of him working on Kaiju Ramen, but he posted on Twitter when he was working with IDW on Rulers of Earth, and they were doing some of the other Godzilla series. There was a mandate that came from Toho that said Godzilla is not allowed to cross over with other properties that IDW had. So they couldn't do like Godzilla
Mhm.
versus Transformers and things like that because the Toho
Right.
was the ones who put that mandate in there.
Mhm.
So something must have changed.
Yeah. I think this is probably because I think Toho is starting to appeal to a lot of fans in the West. This is part. I would imagine this is part of their push to get Godzilla in the consciousness of Western fans, because in the last probably year or two or year and a half or so, maybe I'm wrong about, maybe I'm incorrect about that. You can correct me, but I feel like Toho has been doing a lot more to cater to Western audiences.
Yeah, they seem to be doing more than what they were
Mhm.
doing beforehand. I still think they have a long way to go with
Right.
appealing to Western audiences, but I think but they are it's baby steps. It's baby steps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Godzilla versus the Power Rangers, I wouldn't necessarily call that a baby step.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, it, it's still in comic book form, and I hate saying that because it feels like I'm kind of diminishing comics. Comics are fantastic. I love comic books, but
Mhm.
it almost feels like a low risk thing for them to say, "Oh yeah, Godzilla can cross over with some other stuff, some other media, as long as it
Mhm.
stays within the comic books. We're not going to try to do any of that in live action or in anywhere else. We're
Right.
just going to do that in comic book form." So I don't know.
Mhm.
On one hand, I'm super excited for this book. On the other hand, I'm like, yeah, they're still kind of playing it safe. But this also is because we've had the was it Godzilla Gods and Monsters or whatever that all ages book that's been coming out.
I think, yeah. Mhm.
And we did have an announcement sometime last year that IDW was, working with Toho to do more Godzilla stuff, in the future. That was just the first kind of thing that they were starting with, but they were going to do more in the future. So this is just kind of the next, the next step in a line of hopefully seeing Godzilla in more comic book media.
Mhm. Yeah, and, before we get a little bit further into this, I wanna go ahead and read the plot synopsis or what the plot description for this series. I think this series is gonna be what, 6 issues? 5 issues? I can't exactly remember,
I can't remember exactly how long. It is limited.
what it is limited, yeah, so I think it's gonna start in March. So, anyway, the plot synopsis, for this particular event comic is, when Rita Repulsa uses an ancient artifact to transport herself to a universe without Power Rangers, she finds herself in a world with aliens, kaiju, and Godzilla. Hoping to annihilate her new foe, Rita hurls her own terrible creatures into battle, but she never expects that the Rangers have followed. She never expects that the Rangers have followed her to this alternate reality, putting the dinosaurs themselves head to head with the king of the monsters. So we're gonna get Godzilla versus the Dragon Zord.
Yeah, yeah. Like, that alone is worth the price of admission.
We're gonna get Godzilla versus the Megazord.
Mhm,
We might even get Godzilla versus Goldar, which that'll be interesting.
mhm. Something that's interesting, in that description, they mention that she finds herself in a world of aliens, monster, kaiju, and Godzilla. Do you
Mhm.
think that Godzilla is that this is just going to be Godzilla crossing over with Power Rangers, or do you think that some other kaiju from the Godzilla and Toho Library are going to also make an appearance.
I don't know. That's interesting. That description leads me to believe that okay, so the aliens, kaiju, and Godzilla. So are they, are they nodding and winking to possibly other Toho intellectual properties like say, I don't know, Gigan or King Ghidorah or
Mm,
Mechagodzilla or something
mhm,
of that nature showing up? um like who knows, like because she's come like you're right, I'm glad you pointed that out, she's coming into a world where all these things already exist.
mhm,
So it does lead fans to kind of speculate, oh, what else is there besides Godzilla? Obviously, Godzilla is the showpiece, but could we see a showdown between the Megazord and Gigan? Or could we see the showdown between the Megazord and King Ghidorah? Or the Dragon Zord versus, I don't know, Mothra, which would be weird, but really exciting at the same time. Like, who knows? I don't know. It's going to be a really interesting run of these comics to see how that story unfolds. Now, me personally, I've already had mine pulled at my local shop, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. This series is going to be written by Cullen Bunn, who is a fantastic comic book writer. Like he does really quality work, and the man
Mhm,
is nuts because he does like 50 bajillion books a year. And none of the
mhm.
quality in any of them really dips too much. So he's a fantastic writer who can definitely balance everything, in these stories and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does. The same artist that worked on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover is the one that's doing the artwork for this. I
Freddie E. Williams.
Mhm. Yeah, so if you are someone who read the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Power Rangers crossover, you're familiar with that artwork. That's the artwork that we're gonna get in this series. So yeah, it's just exciting because it's like it's like being what 5 years old again and having
Yeah.
our Power Rangers toys smash up against the Godzilla toys.
Mhm. Oh no, this is pure nostalgia bait and pure nostalgia fuel with this comic series, and I'm so excited. Like it kicked. I'm just kind of looking through the description here on when it was first broke. I think it was broke on IGN's website. It just says that this. It just says Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers will kick off in March of 2022. So we don't know exactly it doesn't. We don't know exactly what date, but before we kind of move on from this particular news item, because this was one of the big tentpole items from the from recent weeks, I'm going to ask you, which of these covers will you be trying to get your hands on? Will it be the A cover or will it be the B cover? I know which one I'm leaning towards, but I want to hear what you're thinking.
I like the one where Godzilla and the Dragon Zord are face to face, like, Godzilla versus
The
Kong.
B cover, yeah.
Yeah, like Godzilla versus Kong style, them just face to face screaming in each other's faces, and just, yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think that's the one after kind of looking at these side by side for a few weeks. I'm kind of leaning towards that one too, because it feels, I don't know, it just feels more epic. Like the cover A where it's just Godzilla looming over the Rangers and you have the Dragon Zord in the background and Godzilla in the foreground, that still feels epic, but not as epic as, you know, Godzilla and the Dragon Zord coming head to head for the first time in history. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Moving on, so while we were on hiatus, there was a an online and I guess there was some in-person stuff too over in Japan, but they had Subaraya Con 2021, and Subaraya Productions put out a lot of stuff that they are planning for the next year or 2, and we got a lot of announcements, a lot of sneak peeks, and a lot of looks at things that we are already expecting, but now we know
Mhm.
when they're coming. Um, the first thing that I want to mention is Shin Ultraman. We finally got
Oh,
a
yeah.
date for that because they put it on indefinite kind of delay back, last year sometime. I wanna say back in
Mhm.
August, maybe even before August, they made the
I think it was a
announcement.
little bit earlier than August, to be honest. I think it was a little bit earlier than August, but yeah, it was pretty early on, and it was fairly early
Yeah,
in the year.
pretty early on in the year, they announced that there was just kind of this indefinite hold on the movie because they wanted to see how things turned out with COVID and everything. But now we finally have a release date. It's the Japanese release date. It's not US release date, but we did get a release date for it. May 13th, 2022 is the release date that they gave us, for Japan. We still haven't heard anything about a US release. Um, I can't imagine that it's going to not get a release in the US in some form. But
Right.
along with
I don't think this is gonna be a theatrical release like Shin was. It may be like a limited theatrical release, but it may be like a straight to Blu-ray release for the Western side of the fandom.
yeah, well, it really depends on who distributes it over here because they did Shin Godzilla, on a limited release here in the US back in 2016. Uh or 2017, whenever it was. So, they could do it, but yeah, I'm leaning more towards it getting like a Blu-ray release, a streaming service release, something like that. I would love
Mm.
for it to be in theaters. I would love to go and see it in theaters, but I am
Oh,
with
that would
you.
be amazing.
Yeah, but I am with you. I'm leaning more towards I think that's what it's gonna be. But along with that announcement, we did get a new teaser trailer for the movie.
And it does look much better. One of the things I believe that they had to kinda go back and fix was some of the CGI, because some of the CGI looked a little bit off.
Mhm.
I think this trailer looks so much more refined than the previous one that was put out back in the spring, I think. Spring or
Yeah,
early summer. So this one looks so much better.
yeah, it's a lot more polished, a lot more refined, and we got a look at the Spacium beam.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like,
S
I'm looking forward to that because, like, even in that trailer, it felt like there was some power behind that Spacian beam. Did you
Mhm,
kind of get that vibe? Like, kind of how, like, with Shin Godzilla and with Shin Godzilla, the atomic breath that they used for Shin God's his laser breath, I should say. His later is the laser breath that they used in Shin Godzilla, felt like it had some force behind it. Like, between the sound mixing and everything, it felt
mhm,
like this Spacian beam had some real, like, oomph behind it. So I'm really
mhm.
excited. We only saw it for like a split second, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah, I am too. So, that's something to look forward to, and we will be covering it on the podcast as soon as we have access to it. So, looking forward to that, and really exciting if you are an Ultraman fan, or even if you're not an Ultraman fan, if you are a Hideaki Anno and Higuchi fan. Uh, you know these creators who have a good track record of creating fantastic pieces of giant monster, giant mech media. And so,
Yeah,
if you're a fan of theirs, just we're all looking
yeah.
forward to it.
I mean, Shin Godzilla may not be my favorite movie of the franchise, but I have to admit it is a beautiful looking film.
Hmm. Yeah, it really is. We ready to move on to the next bit of Ultraman news?
Yeah, we got a lot of ground to cover, so we need to move on.
Okay. So, yeah, we finally got the announcement of Ultraman Season Two again of the Netflix series. I mean, that was one that was kind of indefinitely delayed. They put it on hold for a while. They finally have said it's coming in spring. It's coming in May. I want to say also in May.
Yeah, it's also in May. Yeah, it's also in May.
Yeah, so, we're going to get season 2 of the Ultraman Netflix series, finally, after all this time.
Right. Right? I mean, I feel like and we've talked about this on the podcast before. They've been sitting on this thing for months, like, have a better part of a year now, and, if not longer,
Over a year.
it's
Well,
been done.
the original series came out or the first season came out in 2019, and as
So they've
soon
been
as that one came out, they had announced the 2nd season, so they've been sitting on this for at least a year.
yeah. I mean, and it's not like, a theatrical release, in 2020 with COVID where they had to postpone it. Like were when everyone was like literally sitting at home and the stocks of Netflix and all these streaming services went through the roof, then was the time to release this. If it was done, like if it wasn't done, fine. But if it was done and they've just sat on this thing for almost a year, I mean, come on, guys. Like I don't understand why.
Yeah, I really don't understand the thought process in holding out this series because like, it was supposed to be out. It was supposed to be out a while back, and they had announced that it was coming out a while back, and then they delayed it. So I have to imagine that most, if not all of this series was done, and they just held
Mhm.
on to it, and it just makes no sense. I understand theater releases, like you said, holding on to those things and waiting to see how the climate, and how the virus goes. But a Netflix series, Netflix is is what everybody was watching. Why
Yeah.
not release
Yeah.
it?
Between
Just I
between
don't.
between Netflix and HBO Max, well, I mean, all the streaming services. Like we even saw what did we even saw a couple of streaming services pop up during 2020 with everything going on with COVID.
Mhm.
And like it was the perfect time to release it. And I I just honestly I think they dropped the ball with it. I
Mhm.
don't know. I mean, I'm sure we'll watch it. There'll be a ton of people who will watch it. I just think that they dropped the ball with not releasing it when they had the opportunity to, and because everyone else was already sitting at home anyway.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is that they wanted the release of that series or that season to coincide with Shin Ultraman, and when Shin Ultraman got delayed, that's what pushed this back, is that they wanted the 2 to go hand in hand, and that may
Yeah,
have been it.
maybe, but that's still to me, in my opinion, just as a fan, that's still not a great excuse.
No, it's
I
not
don't
a good
think.
excuse. That's the only thing I can think of is why they would have
Mhm.
done this. But yeah, it is something I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, the different Ultraman. We're gonna get Ultraman Jack in it. We're gonna get Ultraman.
It looks like we're getting Seven, Zoffy, the original Ultraman, Ultraman Taro, Ultraman Jack, and Ultraman Ace.
Okay, okay, yeah. Just something real quick too, something else that was announced at SubarayaCon. We're
Mhm.
getting an Ultraman Geed spin-off comic or spin-off manga, called Another Gene. So for anybody who is a fan of Ultraman Geed, they are doing a spin-off comic of that, and it looks just from the announcement artwork that they put out for it, it looks really fun.
It's exciting. Like I'm not the big like I'll admit I'm not the biggest Ultraman fan. I know you and I both kind of started our Ultra journey about the same at the same time when Mill Creek was putting out all that media and stuff
Mhm.
back in 2019. Um, and I've kind of fallen off of Ultraman for a little while I've kind of been focused on Super Sentai and some other franchises. Um, but this looks really good, and I'm excited for the folks that are. I'm excited for all the Ultraman fans that they're going to get their hands on a brand new manga.
Yeah, yeah. Also from Subaraya Con, we had a teaser trailer for a new anime endeavor that Subaraya is doing, in partnership with Toei Animation, called
Mhm,
Kaiju Decode. Now, we had an
mhm.
announcement about this a while back because I even remember talking about this when
Yeah, we talked
Steven
about it.
do what?
Yeah, we talked. I think you talked about it with Steven, and I think you and I talked about it too on a later episode.
Mhm, yeah, because they've been hinting at this, but we haven't really gotten a full description up until now of what this is. So the description of this is it's a 3D CG computer generated animated project produced by Subaraya Productions in collaboration with Toei Animation. The synopsis for it is the catastrophe Skyfall was brought about by the collapsed orbital space colony crashed into the earth. Inside the crater at the crash site now inhabit kaiju born by gene mutation. So people with gene mutations who are called kaiju born. Ray, an avatar, whatever that means, comes to the area to collect the scattered seeds, quote unquote. Again, don't know what that means. It's just in the description. Not knowing what really is going on in the area, he soon meets Mill, a mysterious girl. But is she a human or is she a kaiju? And it kind of looks like a mix between the magical girl genre, so like your Sailor Moons, your things
Mhm.
along that line, mixed with kind of kaiju action sci-fi drama. And it looks interesting.
It does. Yeah, it looks really interesting. Now, is this something that we're gonna have pretty early access to, or are we gonna have to wait for this before we can personally cover it on the podcast?
I have a feeling that it's going to be released through Crunchyroll. Uh,
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about an official US release when it's gonna get, like, released in the US, but a lot of these anime, Crunchyroll has been doing really fantastic about, getting the distribution to be able to simulcast them, on their streaming service and on their site. So it would not shock me if we get this through Crunchyroll.
Gotcha. Okay. So
Uh
this is something that we'll try to cover.
Yeah, yeah, we'll keep an eye out on it, and we will cover it when we get a chance to, but, yeah, it's just a nice little, extra stuff. It's Subaraya expanding into the animated, media again because they haven't really done much in the animated world outside of the Ultraman anime that they're doing for Netflix. Seeing this kind of, like, original property that they're putting out is kind of interesting. I'm really fascinated to see how it turns out. Now we can move into the Kamen Rider news. So
I'm gonna really quickly. I'm gonna go get another drink of water while you just info dump on everything that you know about what's coming up with Kamen Rider.
okay, well that's fine. I'll just so we know, and we've probably even talked about it on the podcast. I can't even remember because everything's blending together now. But we've talked about Shin Kamen Rider, which is Hideaki Anno doing a reboot of the Kamen Rider original franchise, the original series in movie form. It's not coming out
Mhm,
this year. It's coming out next year, 2023, but we
mhm.
have been getting little sneak peeks of it. We've had a trailer, like a teaser drop. We've had photos and stuff. The actor Fujioka, who played the original Kamen Rider, in the 1971 series. He
Mhm.
is his son is playing the original Kamen Rider, the Kamen Rider 1 in this reboot. So that's kind of fun. But we also just got the announcement of Hayato Ichimonji, which is the Kamen Rider number 2. And it is going to be played by Tasuko Emoto. Tasuko Emoto, is what it looks like. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name. And we had some pictures of what he looks like in his costume, and we had some pictures of the 2 Kamen Riders from this new movie together, and they look fantastic.
No, they do. I think I sent you some didn't I send you some new photos
Mhm,
that
yeah.
popped up on the internet the other day of the suit, like a full frontal, reveal of the of the
Whoa,
rider and the
whoa,
suit.
whoa, whoa, whoa.
What?
Like,
What?
full we didn't it wasn't that exclusive to be full frontal.
Oh, I mean, okay, so I'm sorry, I'm talking. Okay. Yeah, those are on
Although,
hard those are
I
stored on.
I am not saying that I wouldn't also be downloading and saving all the full frontal pictures of Kamen Rider onto my phone because I am that much of a Kamen Rider fan, but that is not
Oh,
what we
I'm
got.
sure you are. Oh, I'm sure you are a huge Kamen Rider fan, Travis.
Yeah, listen to Henshin Man and hear me man crush
Oh.
on Kamen Rider and Taki, who is his partner. Uh
And it's enough to give you Kamen Rider blue balls.
yes. That was a thing. That was only supposed to be said on that podcast and not on this one.
There I go, walk right up to that line and just stomp on it.
Anyway, uh Shin Kamen Rider is one of those ones I'm super excited about because Hideaki Anno, he directed Shin Godzilla. He is writing Shin Ultraman, and Higuchi is directing.
Mm,
And
right.
but he has made it very clear that the one franchise that he is the biggest fan of is Kamen Rider, and this is his
Mhm.
dream come true to do a Kamen Rider movie. So this is exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing how this turns out. The costumes, the pictures, everything that we've gotten from it looks fantastic. So just I can't wait. I can't wait. It's next year, but I can't wait.
The trailer that we talked about earlier in the year was very much a tribute to the 1970s show, but we're expecting this movie to be set in the modern day, correct?
Yeah, we're expecting it to be set in the modern day. My hope is that they don't just rehash a lot of the same exact stuff from the original series, because we got that in 2008. 2000, yeah, I can't ever remember when exactly it came out, but Masked Rider the First was basically a modern day reboot of the original series. So I don't want
Right.
to have just Masked Rider the First again. I want something different, something unique. So
Mhm.
while still paying tribute to that original series.
Well, I think we will get we'll probably get something like we'll get a nod. What the feeling that I'm getting, we'll get a nod to the original series, but I don't think we're going to get a shot for shot rehashing of the same story.
Yeah. That's my only fear from everything that we've gotten
Mhm.
from it. That's been my only fear. But I'm still excited to see
Mhm.
what happens and how it turns out. Sticking with the Kamen Rider news, we did get an official Blu-ray release of Kamen Rider Zero One. It is available online that you can purchase.
which I pre-ordered. I did.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're finally getting more Kamen Rider available legitimately for Western audiences.
What I'm hoping is the sales from Zero One will be popular enough to say, "Hey, Toei, let's bring some more stuff over. Let's bring some more Kamen Rider. Let's bring some more unreleased Sentai that is after what you guys had with Shout Factory. Come on, let's give us more stuff. If Mill Creek and Subaraya can do it, you guys can do it too. Come on."
Yeah. I really hope that this is just the beginning of a long running, beautiful relationship that they're going to have. We also did get the announcement of the release or that's coming on Blu-ray of Kamen Rider J, Kamen Rider Zeto or Zo, depending on how you want to say it, uh, Kamen Rider Shin, which is different than the Shin Kamen Rider that we were talking about. This is the 90s one. And they are also including in that Kamen Rider World, which is a little short film that they did specifically for an amusement park back in the 90s. That is, they did a little short film for, and is also going to be included in all that. And that is all coming from Media Blasters.
Yeah, it's Media Blasters.
Yeah.
That's all coming from Media Blasters. And I have a question here because I am a Kamen Rider noob. I've seen a couple of seasons of Kamen Rider up to this point. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Shin Kamen Rider, I'm sorry, the Kamen Rider Shin, or it has another name that it also goes by.
Shin Kamen Rider Prologue is what it also goes by.
That's the one where the rider literally looks like a bug. Like it's
Yes,
not a suit. It looks like body horror in a way.
it is very much like a Cronenberg, The Fly meets
Mm,
tokusatsu kind of
okay.
superheroes. It's very it leans very heavy into the horror of Kamen Rider because Kamen Rider has always kind of been this franchise that balances horror with still being family friendly and Shin Kamen Rider, the original Shin Kamen Rider from the 90s, it was
Mhm,
that it leaned very heavy into it. So very body horror, very gross kind of mutation transformations and stuff and just
mhm.
very tonally different than what you would get from a lot of other Kamen Rider stuff.
While you were talking there, I was trying to do a quick Google search to see if these are either available for pre-order, if they had any kind of release date for these. And the only thing I can find is literally it just says no official release announcement has been made, but according to Media Blasters, we should see more details coming early 2022. So we'll see.
We're getting Kamen Rider stuff available legitimately in the West. And I'm so excited because yes, it is just a little trickle, but maybe the dam will burst and we'll just be flooded with Kamen Rider content at some point, and I'm so excited for it. Yeah, they're a ton of fun. We watched Zeto for Kaiju Quarantine 3, and it was the first time that a lot of people who tuned in for it had seen anything Kamen Rider related, and everybody was like freaking out, like, "Wow, this is awesome! We didn't realize how awesome Kamen Rider was." And it's like, yes, yes, it's awesome. But
Yeah.
speaking of Kamen Rider releases and making things available to U.S. audiences, we have a new Kamen Rider series that was added to Tubi through Shout
Oh, yeah, we
Factory.
did. Yeah, we do. We do. In fact, it's one that I have been personally watching myself.
Yeah, Kamen Rider
Is that the one?
Ryuki. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. That
Uh,
I was trying to remember if that's the most recent one that's been added.
Yes. So right now, the 3 series that you can watch on Tubi for Kamen Rider are Kamen Rider, the original one from 1971, Kamen Rider Kuga from 2000, and Kamen Rider Ryuki, which was 2002 or 2003, somewhere around there, was when that series came out. And those are the 3 that are available to you on Tubi through Shout Factory's, tokusatsu kind of imprint, I guess is the best way. I don't know how else to describe that.
Mhm.
And yeah, it
Yeah.
again, it's not a lot. It's not as much material, as much media as what Ultraman has been releasing through Mill Creek, but every little bit that we get that is Kamen Rider that is official, I am so excited about because it just means it's the potential for more, the potential for more. So I'm just like I am Adam Driver from the Last Jedi. More, more. Yeah, so that's enough of me gushing about Kamen Rider. Let's move on to the next bit of news. Do we want to talk about Dickstroya?
I don't know. It would be really hard to get through this episode without talking about Dick Stroya. Um, I mean, there's so many ways that we could come at this story. And it would just be really hard to prick with just one.
Yeah, the I mean, this this kaiju really you know what? No, I'm not going to sink to your level. So,
Look, this hands down, this is by far the kaiju movie that we never saw coming. Or maybe we did, but you know.
maybe no, I am not sinking to your level. We have to keep this family friendly. Um,
What?
we
No, I'm just saying that um I mean, this movie could be great or it could be a white sticky hot mess.
I so okay, let's give some context to this now. Um, we have talked about this. This movie was announced. It's an independent kaiju film called What to Do with a Dead Kaiju. Basically it's a movie that if you haven't heard about it, a kaiju is killed there after fighting the military. The body is left there, and it's what to do with it. Like, how do people react to the body being there? How do you get rid of it? And what happens when
Mhm.
there's not so good chemicals and other stuff that might be leaking out from the body that's affecting the environment and everything. So that's what we're talking about. The official images of the kaiju from that is dead. Like, I mean, he's dead at the beginning of this movie apparently. So he's not like a major thing throughout the whole movie except for just being a dead body, but they showed what he
Mhm.
looks like, and growing out of his back, instead of Godzilla spines, like like we've seen in Godzilla and other monsters, he has mushrooms, which is what they're supposed to be, mushrooms,
Mhm. Mhm.
but they don't look like mushrooms.
I'm working so hard to keep this show family friendly.
I'm just picturing as this monster is attacked by the military, people on the ground are doing the thing from you remember the scene from Austin Powers where the rocket launches and and everybody
Uh-huh.
starts describing what the it's like. And so I'm just picturing like just a scene of everybody on the ground being like, that kaiju's spines look like someone's Johnson. we need to we need to reorganize our attacks.
Oh
And we're
man, I
trying,
mean,
but the monsters, but the monster's spines on his back look like someone's pecker. It's a woodpecker over there.
oh, the comedic timing for
Just
something like this is
uh,
impeccable. Is impeccable. Um, I mean, my main question would be, I mean, did the
why?
military get it?
That's my main
Well, did the
question.
military
Why?
right, that, but did the military get everybody out in time, or was it just a premature evacuation?
Oh god. Uh, so I do have to say that it was a really funny thing because you sent me the picture of this kaiju and I was like I was dealing with stuff in in my my life that I wasn't really paying attention to the messages coming through.
Mhm,
And so I didn't really look at it. I was
mhm.
like, oh, okay, yeah, I whatever. Yeah, people are making jokes about this monster. And it wasn't until I sat down later on that night and I messaged you that night. I was like, "Oh, now I see what you're talking about."
Now you get the dick joke or the Dickstroya joke. I mean, come on.
Yeah, now I get it. Yeah. I don't know what else to say about this. I mean, it's supposed to be mushrooms, but
I mean it's supposed to be mushrooms,
that's
yeah,
some
but
very happy mushrooms.
somewhat I mean, they oh god, never mind, forget it, I'm done. Um, I
I think
I
this monster is overcompensating for some things.
I was
Anyway.
trying I'm sitting here trying to remember all the jokes that, like, me and our friend Danny DeMana made when we first saw this, and I can't remember all of them because they were all well, actually, they were all pretty awful, and I'm not allowed to say them on this podcast is probably what the case is. But I'm just gonna say this one last thing. Someone like, you can't tell me that someone in the production crew did not know what these things looked like when they were doing this. Like, they could have done something else. I mean, come on. Really? Like, really? Come on, guys. I mean, I'm all for, like, creative expression and all that. You do you. You know, it's 2021. If you want to make a giant reptilian monster with dicks on its back, sure, whatever. You do you. But someone in the production crew had to know what the heck was going on with this thing. And the bad part is they greenlit it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So, we're gonna have to review this movie. Um,
Oh,
and
I look forward to it.
yeah, this is gonna be
Oh,
fun.
I look forward to it all night. No, I'm not going there. No, I'm not. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not gonna do there. I'm not gonna go there anymore. Oh, I'm so sorry,
Okay.
audio listener.
Moving on, we have an announcement for the new Sentai series that comes after Zen Kiger. It's going to be called, well, I don't know what the full name is, but it's Dawn Brothers is the
Hmm.
name. And oh
Yeah.
boy, Toei is purposely creating Sentai series that just are impossible to adapt into Power Rangers series.
At this point, I think I'd have to agree because, um, yeah, like, this is when images of this first leaked, when I first saw these, I thought it was a joke. To be quite
Yeah,
honest with you, I sincerely thought it was a joke or some kind of fanfic or something, because there are Sentai fan fiction, or there are Sentai or Power Ranger fanfics out there based on unused Sentai. I I honestly thought this was a joke, or that it was fake. I mean, it looks. I've not personally watched any of the I've not watched any Zenkiger. I know a lot of people like that show, and it looks like a lot of fun. I've just not gotten around to it yet. And Dawn Brothers looks even more far out than even Zenkiger is.
Yeah, Zenkiger's a lot of fun. I've only watched a few episodes, but what I have seen of it, it is a lot of fun. Um, and this looks, I mean, this looks like it's gonna be fun, but it looks like, I mean, people talk about Japanese weirdness in these shows, and while, yeah, there is some weirdness that like, Western audiences might feel are just plain weird in a lot of these,
Mhm.
if someone is familiar with a lot of these franchises, like Ultraman, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, you kind of get used to the weirdness, but every once in a
Yeah.
while, one of these franchises will throw out something that it's like, even people who are familiar with these franchises, who are used to these franchises, are like, "Yeah, that's weird." Um, because apparently we don't have much information on Dawn Brothers. As far as I know, we haven't gotten much information. I haven't been able to find much information on it.
No.
But
There's
we
not a
have
whole lot of there's not a whole lot of stuff out there yet on Dawn
but we
Brothers.
have seen the red, I'm gonna call them Rangers, that's not what they're called, but I'm gonna call them Rangers because that's what I'm familiar with. So we've seen the Red Ranger, the Blue Ranger, the Pink Ranger, the Yellow Ranger, and the Black Ranger, from this
Mhm,
team, and what it looks like they're doing is they are animal themed like other Super Sentai series. They've been animal themed,
mhm,
but instead of just transforming into like the Power Ranger style suit, the Super Sentai style suits with just like the helmets being
mhm.
themed after the animal, they actually are taking on physical attributes of the animals that they're transforming into.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah,
blue
for example, the blue like, I'm sorry I cut you off, but
No, go ahead.
I think you and I were about ready to say this. You and I were about ready to say the same thing. The blue, which appears to be an ape, which I would argue it's probably a baboon because it has one very baboon-like feature, which is a red butt.
It has a I didn't even see the red butt. Oh my goodness.
It has a red butt. Yeah, it has a red butt. Yeah.
Uh
So I'm assuming it's some kind of if it's not a baboon, it's obviously an ape. It's supposed to it takes on the form of some kind of ape. The Pink Ranger, who happens to be male for this particular Sentai, first ever, I think first ever Sentai that we've had a male Pink Ranger,
mhm, yep.
um, is some kind of Slender Man bird. There's like some
Okay,
kind of some
I can't tell if it's supposed to be a wasp or a flamingo.
I think it's supposed to be a bird, but I could be dead wrong.
If it's a bird, it's probably a flamingo because it's, like, really long legs, very stretched out, proportions, like you said, very Slender Man looking. Um, it's weird. It's weird. Um, the Black Ranger is a little mini dog.
Uh-huh.
He's
Yeah.
about he looks like Sonic the Hedgehog. He's he's only about 3 feet tall. He has fur and a snout and just looks like a Sonic OC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's incredibly weird. And,
It's
if I'm not mistaken, I'm not looking at the image. Let me pull up let me pull up the image right now because I can't remember exactly what, the Yellow Ranger looks like. Um,
I don't remember the yellow one having anything specific about it that I could tell just by looking at it.
so I can't tell exactly what the Yellow Ranger is supposed to be, in some of the digital renders, I'm assuming for toys. Um, it is she's holding a club that looks like it could have been pulled off of like maybe an armadillo or something. So that may because it's spiky and she's got spikes and things on her outfit. So maybe she's an armadillo or a turtle or something, but I can't particularly make out exactly what she's supposed to be.
Yeah, I can't either, and I'm not 100% sure what the red one is supposed to be either. I think he's a turtle. I do think he's a turtle just because there's certain little, aspects of his costume that while
Mhm,
don't scream turtle, if you know Japanese
mhm,
culture and the way turtles are represented in Japanese culture, they do it does like speak to turtle like a turtle design to me. Having the fan, the
mhm.
little top knot and stuff. Turtles, sometimes turtles are represented that way. And his mask, the mouthpiece on his mask kind of looks very turtleish to me too. So I this is just is this going too far?
I I don't know. I mean, I've seen so far in my in watching Sentai, I've seen some pretty weird stuff. Um, but not this weird. Because I'm looking at the digital render here of the Pink Ranger, and you're right, it's this elongated, like he's got long slender legs, but he's got claws at the bottom of his feet, so that tells me it's probably a flamingo, probably a bird of some kind. And the mouthpiece kind of resembles a bird beak, so that, yeah, I think this one's going to be a
Mhm,
bird. um i think that I think that maybe you're right. This is going a little bit too far for American audiences. There is this is this is probably not going to be blinked at. This is not going to be second guessed at all probably over in Japan, because Japanese media is just weird. It can be very, very weird. But I agree. I think that you said something when we started talking about this, that Toei is purposely doing things so that that can't be adapted to Power Rangers. I don't see, like, just looking at these images, I don't see a way that Hasbro would even want to adapt this to Power Rangers. The one thing that I'm really kind of worried about for something like this is because the Red Ranger, the Blue Ranger, and the Yellow Ranger, all okay. I think you could totally do that with practical effects. I think the Black Ranger and the Pink Ranger are going to have to be done with CGI,
mhm.
and I just don't see any other way they can do it without doing all CGI for them, and that's really kind of, I don't know. To think about it, to think about that is just kind of disappointing in my opinion.
Yeah, it's unusual. I'm not against the idea of rangers taking on, like, some of the physical attributes of animals that they that
Mhm.
that
No,
they're
that's an interesting idea.
yeah, yeah, I just find it weird that we went with flamingo and tiny wolf and red-butted baboon, um, as the this feels like a what is it called? Akiba Ranger, which is the actual Toei produced, uh, parody of Super Sentai, which have been also referenced in and brought into, like, actual Super Sentai canon, but, like, this feels like another parody almost of Super Sentai stuff, and it's just yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. Like, it's one, it's in, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this, because it's just so, it is so different. But as a fan of, you know, as a fan of the Sentai media, because it has created, because it has such close ties with the Power Rangers franchise, I don't know. Like, I've seen, like I said, I've seen some weird stuff watching through Sentai, but nothing like this. And honestly, I'm gonna have to just give it a try to see how I like it. I may not like it. Like, I'm very just, it's one of those things that just, it's one of those things, and we've talked about it on this podcast before. You run across media or franchises or episodes or movies or whatever that just aren't for you. And
Mhm.
this might end up being one of those things that's just not for me.
We've covered as much of the news as I think we covered the main things that we wanted to cover. So now, before we move into our next segment, we want to give a huge thank you to Kaiju Live for sponsoring this podcast as well. We talked about our first sponsor, but now we're talking about our second sponsor. If you are a collector of fantastic kaiju merch, make sure you check out Kaiju Live. They are supporters and sponsors of this podcast, but above that, they are fantastic people who know exactly what it's like to be a collector. So you can check out their site, kaijulive.shop, for lots of kaiju and tokusatsu goodness.
AJ and his dad, Frank Russo, they run a great show. They run an auction show every Sunday night. It's a lot of fun. Even if you don't buy anything from them at all, it's just a lot of fun to listen to them go back and forth and talk with each other. They're a wealth of knowledge about collecting, specifically like Bandai, Sofubi, and some other things that they're all into. So yeah, Kaiju Live is just a fantastic supporter of the magazine. They've been a friend of our magazine for ever since its inception. And AJ's just been a wonderful guy to know. Uh, I do want to mention that we do have a referral link that I will post in the description of this episode for Kaiju Live. So anytime you click on that link and you buy something from them, we get a little bit of a percentage from that. So, and that's just a way that we can help support them. As a friend of this show and as a friend of Kaiju Ramen.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're really excited. So again, check out Kaiju Live and kaijulive.shop. And now we can move into the next segment of the podcast. And do you know what the next segment is?
Oh, this is going to be good because it's the first time in 2022 I get to say the
The
mailbag.
mailbag.
What's in the mail today?
And if you would like to send something to us to read out in the mailbag segment, you can do that kaijuweekly at gmail.com or at Kaiju Weekly on Twitter, which is what our friend Damon Noyes has sent us at King Kaiju 8. He sent us at Kaiju Weekly. He responded to us in our last episode that we did, our last full episode that we did with Steven, when we talked about landmarks and other cities that we would like to see attacked by a kaiju and featured in kaiju movies besides just New York and Tokyo and the ones that we always see. He said at Kaiju
Mhm.
Weekly, other landmarks slash cities for kaiju attacks: Seattle and the Space Needle. I think that's one that I think we mentioned even, but it was that's a really good one. The biggest ball of
Mhm.
twine in Minnesota. That's that's just great. I love that. That would be
Maybe that would be great for like a cat kaiju
that's what I was
playing with a
thinking.
giant ball of twine.
Just like a big kitty cat, a big kitty cat just going after the biggest ball of twine. And then he also mentioned Disney World in Florida, which I think you could do that, but to me, it also might seem I don't know, when you mention having, uh, Disney World or Disneyland featured in a kaiju film, I start getting flashbacks to Gamera versus Zigra, where, where they had SeaWorld, and it's just like, "Oh, oh, no, I don't like I'm having flashbacks, um"
I'm going to destroy you humans and your little mouse too.
And then he also said Independence Hall in Philadelphia, which is also a very famous building that we have here in the United States. So yeah, that's some really good ones. Thank you, Damon, for sending those over.
Yeah, thank you, Damon. You've been such a great supporter of this show and Kaiju Ramen, so we really appreciate it. But don't we have some more? Um, I don't know if I
Yeah.
call this feedback, but a
Yes.
listener response.
Yes. So, also responding to our last episode, our last full episode, which was the Clifford episode, there was a segment in that episode where we talked about and made jokes about uh dog Jesus. I don't know how else to how set that up. I mean, listeners, if you've made it this far into the episode, you can tell we just randomly come up with crap and start just talking about it and making jokes. So, it doesn't have to
Mhm.
have context. And Nick Blackler, one of our favorite listeners who interacts with us online and sends us fantastic fan art from time to time, uh, did a piece that was Dog Jesus in heaven with a tennis ball. And it's just it is just beautiful. It looks like a Renaissance painting.
What I'm wondering is, though, is that supposed to be actual Jesus behind him with the dog body?
Well, I think because he wanted to give us 2 versions of Dog Jesus. So there's
Ah, gotcha.
Jesus body with a dog head, and then there's Jesus head on a dog body.
I don't know which one I like more. I think I like dog head on Jesus body because
Dog.
I can kind of picture him. It looks like he's what is it? A tennis ball?
Yeah,
It's a tennis ball.
the
Oh,
tennis
geez.
ball. He's
Okay.
so cute. I just wanna
Oh
give him a
boy.
scratch behind the ears.
Nick Blackler, if you've not done it already, please give us a full color version of that. Thank you very much.
He did send us a full color version. I
Oh,
didn't
did
put
he? Okay,
yeah,
good. I'll have to go back and look at it.
I only put the black and white one here, but he did send us a colored one too. So, yeah, it looks like a Michelangelo painting that would be on on the roof of the Sistine Chapel. Oh, dog Jesus. I love it. I love it. Thank
Oh,
you,
Jesus.
Nick Blackler.
I'm not gonna repeat all the blasphemous jokes I made during that episode, but man, go listen to that. Go listen to our episode. Go listen to our episode with Steven where we talked about Clifford the Big Red Dog. It's episode 100. It's a lot of fun. Steven was a great guy to come back and join us for our milestone episode. So go listen to that if you want to hear all the shenanigans about Dog Jesus.
Yes. Yeah. And like we said, if you want to have your letter or tweet read out on the podcast, you can send it kaijuweekly@gmail.com or at kaijuweekly on Twitter. You can send us fan art and we will react to the fan art on the podcast as well. So yeah, keep doing that. And so I think that's going to bring this episode to a close. The first episode of the new year, of the new season. Is it the new us? Are we doing anything new?
Yay!
I still feel like we're the same people who tell inappropriate jokes on our family friendly podcast.
I think, I think we're the same people, just better. We've had a little bit of time off. We've had we're rested. We're ready to get back in the swing of things. Um so yeah, I mean, let's kick off this. What better way to kick off 2022 with, a news roundup and all kinds of kaiju dick jokes.
Kaiju dick jokes, dog Jesus, and just
This this is the quality content you get with Kaiju Weekly, people.
this is what you get with. I'd like to say that over the past year we matured, we've grown. No, no. If anything, we've gotten worse.
Life has just beaten us down to the point where all we want to do is make inappropriate jokes on a kaiju podcast.
Yes. And so the only thing to do for this before we close out the episode is to ask the trivia question, because we always like to ask trivia questions that hint to what we're covering in next week. But because it's the first episode back, I decided not to ask a trivia question that hints to what we're covering, but I just wanted to
What?
hear some feedback from you guys, our listeners. What would you like
Oh,
to see us do this season of Kaiju Weekly. Just let us know what you would like us to do this season. If there's a specific movie you want us to cover, is there a segment that you want us to add to the podcast? Is there something new that you want us to do moving forward? Anything. Just give us your feedback. Something that for me personally that I would like to see more of is more interactions with the podcast without being prompted. You know, a lot of times the like the mailbag and sometimes the trivia questions, the only time we get feedback is when we put it out there and ask people for the feedback. What I would like to see for listeners to start reaching out to us and interacting with us without us constantly having to prompt them to do so. You know, that's just something that I would like to see more of, but you know, that's just me. Uh, yeah, but
yeah.
just give us your answer on Twitter or email us, and we will talk about it in our next episode. So now we can close out this episode by saying thank you to everyone for listening and sharing this podcast with your friends. We're back. We are back, and we're so happy to be back. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at Kaiju Weekly. All the links to our social media, as well as for the Kaiju Groupie Facebook group, are listed in the description of this episode. You can send questions, comments, or answers to our trivia questions to our email, kaijuweekly@gmail.com. We also want to say a big thank you to everyone who has supported Kaiju Ramen magazine so far. We've got that Kickstarter going for Kaiju Ramen Volume 1, and if you want to find out more about that or find out more about the magazine in general, you can check out the website kaijuramenmedia.com.
And again, for the first time in 2022, there is one more thing that they can do to support this show, and that is by going over to Apple Podcasts and leaving us a 5-star review or a rating. If you guys just want to do a rating, that's cool too. We're trying to get our ratings back up on Apple Podcasts, and we learned recently that now you can rate us on Spotify. So that's cool. So if you want to leave us a rating to help this show grow on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify, what that's going to do is that's going to put this show in front of other kaiju, tokusatsu, and forgive me, Travis, Dextroya fans
Oh,
just
God.
like you. It's gonna help us grow. It's gonna help projects like Kaiju Ramen and Kaiju Media and Kaiju Ramen Podcasting Network grow to even greater heights in 2022. And I just want to add one more thing before we sign off here. I love you, audio listener, and thank you so much for all the love and support that you've shown that you've shown us and the magazine over this year, and for the people who reached out to us on Twitter asking when we're actually going to come back. It does mean a lot. So just want you to know that a very sincere moment from us. We thank you. We really do.
Yes, we really appreciate each and every one of you guys for keeping us going and making this just such a fun thing to do, because if it wasn't fun, we wouldn't do it. Because that's really why I started this podcast, was because I wanted to have a creative outlet that also was just a way to have some fun. And I have been having a blast while doing this. You can tell we've been having a lot of fun if you go and listen to our bonus best of episode, quote unquote best of, uh, that we put out on the feed just last week. You can see it, hear all the fun that we've had over the past year, a little over a year.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like there's just like I was listening to our best of episode not too long ago, and there were some moments that I've forgot about, and there were some moments that I totally didn't even know happened, because apparently Travis likes to have private conversations with the audio listeners when I'm not around.
Yeah, well, it serves you right for walking away from your microphone while we're recording. And so to close out this episode, I'm going to say help controy the kaiju population. Have your Dextroyas spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
There I go. Walk right up to that line and just stomp on it.